Hello friends, welcome regulars, subscribers and newcomers. This is Red Ice Creations Radio. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Henrik Palmgren and we are recording from the west coast of Sweden. I hope you visit our website often. We have a huge archive of interesting reading for you on the site. Use the search engine or check out our archives. We also have a lot of free radio shows going back about 10 months, and our news are updated almost every day, so check out our website, redicecreations.com, and help us spread the word about the site, help us grow and expand. Alright, before we get to today's guest, just let me say thanks to our regular Alan Watt for being with us last week for a superb show. We spent about 2 hours with Alan, beginning on the note of occult aspects of communism, and our subscriber interview with Alan was phenomenal. We talked about the Priory of Zion, the Templars and the connection to science, the strife for eternal life, the war between the male and the female, genetics, population control, and much, much more. So that's something you don't want to miss. I'm glad you're along today because you are in for a real treat. We have our good friend Freeman back with us on the show, and we are going to spend some time today on occult and maybe not so occult symbolism within movies and television series. All the stuff that is right in our face, but we might not recognize what we're looking at. So this is something you definitely don't want to miss. So stay tuned and enjoy the show. Today we have a good friend back with us on the show, researcher of the esoteric, the occult and the symbolic. Freeman is here. He has been on the show 3 times previously, so I think most of you out there are familiar with Freeman at this point. And if you're new to this show, just head into our archive and download our previous shows with Freeman. Some really good stuff waiting there for you. His website is thefreemanperspective.blogspot.com. And you can just do a search on the Freeman Perspective also, and you'll find his blog right there. And it's always interesting to have Freeman on, and it's a pleasure to have him back. We have loads of topics we want to get to today. So let's say welcome back, my friend, and thank you for spending some time with us today.
Thank you very much, Henrik. It's great to be back.
Awesome.
I did go ahead and get freemantv.com. So now you can easily just go to freemantv.com.
Awesome. Does this point to your blog, or do you have a...
Yes, it just links to my blog. It's just easier to say over the radio.
Absolutely, that's awesome. Yeah. We had, as we said before we came on here, a lot of stuff has been happening since we last spoke, and one of the things, of course, is that your show has been picked up by another station. Tell us about that.
Yes, that was quite amazing, and it was from your radio broadcast that this happened.
Oh, really?
He was listening to me on you and decided that this is the type of guy we want to promote.
Awesome.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
It's WQXT, Channel 22 in St. Augustine. And they had never seen my show. They only heard me on your broadcast. And from there decided that they needed Freeman on their television.
That's awesome, yeah. Absolutely.
Is that in St. Augustine, he tells me that they have run out, as he says, all the vipers. They've actually eliminated Freemasonry from their government. These are people that are aware of these influences and actually went to the effort to remove Freemasonry from their government. And I find this most amazing.
Yeah, I mean, is this a little bit a reflection of the... there was a time in the U.S. when the anti-Masonic party was quite huge, I guess.
Absolutely. It's amazing how influential this group is and how little everyone realizes or even notices.
Yeah.
I used to live in Lawrence, Kansas, and there's a large Egyptian temple downtown. And I would talk, about Freemasonry and these things to my friends, and I would refer to this large Egyptian temple downtown saying, well, it's got the big papyrus columns, a large gold compass square and G. Even says Freemason Temple across the top. You can't miss it. It's in my corporate logos video.
Yeah.
And they would say, oh, no, there's no Freemason temple downtown. You're crazy. There's no such thing as a big Egyptian temple downtown. I've lived here my whole life. And then the very next day, they would come and go, oh, my God,
Yeah.
I mean, it dominates downtown. It's astounding how invisible these brothers are. From the Constitution to Britney Spears, it's one Freemasonic illusion.
It's amazing. Exactly. I mean, and maybe we can get further into that. There's more obvious connections and so forth. We said we're going to spend some time on movies today also, but again, maybe for to remind a few of the folks out there about your show, you have it also now available through Google Video, I guess.
Yes, and they are all linked to FreemanTV.com as well. You can go straight to my site and just pick whichever guest you want to watch.
Awesome. That's perfect. Yeah, and you have lots of interesting guests right there, and it's about an hour long each time, and about once a week, right?
Yes.
Awesome. And also, of course, the last time you were on this show, we did a subscriber interview. We talked about shock and awe, or shock and awe, and during that show, you relayed a few interesting things about this event, I guess, and also a date. And now, in retrospect, some interesting pieces of the puzzle, so to speak, has fallen into place. But before we mention what that is, maybe you could just remind us again what Shakanaya is and what date this was.
Certainly. Well, what we're looking at here is Kabbalism. We're dealing with a form of Hebrew mysticism, and this is the magic that, say, Albert Pike, who is one of the lead Freemasonic authorities, states that Freemasonry is based out of the Kabbalism. So you've got to recognize the Jewish or Hebrew origins, and so everything must be related to Hebrew. And when we're looking at events like the Shock and Awe campaign, where we attacked Baghdad, shock and awe is a Hebrew word, and it is a word that is used to describe the divine goddess. And as I was looking deeper into the correlations with shock and awe, I found that the researchers Knight and Lomas, who wrote the Hiram Key or the Book of Hiram, they even now have the Hiram website, correlated the shock and awe with a conjunction of Venus and Mercury as it rises before the sun. And so I searched for a date that would, to see when, and this doesn't happen every year. It's not, it's actually kind of a rare event. And it turns out that the next shock and awe event, the conjunction of Venus and Mercury, which you'll find is what most of the symbolism falls back on, it did happen on November 7th.
Yeah.
And I'm not at all surprised that it went extraterrestrial.
Tell us about what happened that day. What event are we looking at here?
Well, I was completely flabbergasted when I finally got the reports. I didn't catch it on the day because it was all the election and most everything I was dealing with was political. But it turns out that there's a massive UFO sighting over O'Hare in Chicago on November 7th, and it was witnessed by many people and pilots and all of the people involved at the airport. And I'm still waiting for pictures, but it was a very curious event that this flying saucer came down, was hanging over the airport, and then lifted off and left a tunnel through the clouds as it escaped out of the atmosphere. Yeah,
I mean, there were, I guess, air traffic controllers looking at this event, and I think Peter, what's his name, who has UFOcenter.com, can't remember his name now. He did a UFO report on this event, and he was on the Jeff Rense show talking about it. And what also is interesting is that the mainstream media picked up on it. This rarely happens. I mean, there are a lot of UFO sightings all around the place. And I mean, do you know why they chose, I guess, to pick up on this specific event?
Isn't it unusual? Because, yes, certainly if you do UFO research, most of your database comes from these type of airline reactions to UFOs, and they're typically what are reported as the most credible events.
Yeah.
So you get a lot of reports in Blue Book and whatnot on the airliners witnessing UFOs, but it never makes mainstream media.
Exactly.
You got to be wondering why this one became such large news.
Yeah.
And I really do feel that we're moving close to a disclosure.
Yeah.
But of course, only from their perspective, only the way they want us to see it.
Yeah.
Controlling our imagination, as we'll look deeper and deeper into that today.
Exactly. Yeah. His name, by the way, is Peter Davenport. Some help with the name.
Right.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, that's an interesting story. Allegedly, I saw that there were some fake photos of the event taken from a cell phone on I think the forum is called Above Top Secret or something like that. I think Jeff Renz linked this up, so I think there already are some fakes out there at least. So.
Right, I'll have to go look at that. I hadn't.
Yeah. So let's see what happens. I mean, there could be more coming out from this event. I mean, I think the Phoenix Light were the same type of deal, where I think it also was months or weeks after that this event was being highlighted.
Yes, and there again, how curious the events were with the Phoenix Lights and thousands of witnesses, and then the mayor coming out, I can't remember her name, but she's coming out demanding answers from the military, and I'm watching, and the military comes out in front of the podium and says, yes, we are here to tell you that there are extraterrestrials visiting our planet, and they have a man come out dressed up as a gray, and they laugh this poor mayor right out of the building.
Oh.
And so there again, controlling what people feel and think about the event.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, let's see what happens. It's, again, very interesting event. And, as we said here, we're going to dive in a bit on talking about movies in generally. And you dropped a little, brief outline to me in one of your mails of some of the things you wanted to bring up here today. So, I mean, where do you want to kick things off, so to speak?
Well, let's point out the most obvious, because what we're looking at here now, when we're dealing with magic, which is what I'm so curious about, because there are so many highly intelligent people that are dabbling and dealing with magic, and so I can't just write it off. And I find that the most important factor of the magician's work is their imagination. And even Einstein said that imagination is more important than knowledge. And who controls our imagination more than Hollywood?
Yeah.
And if we look just to the simple symbols of Hollywood, the very word Hollywood, the Druid magicians would craft their magic wand out of the Hollywood. And this is where the term comes from.
It's amazing.
It is their magic wand.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we find this goddess relationship with this order and with most of magic, and we realize that Kali is definitely one of the lead in the pantheon of today. And, of course, it's all dealing with sex, and so shouldn't be surprised to find that the Hollywood is in the land of Kali fornication.
That's awesome.
It's it's no joke. But it's amazing how influential the Freemasons have been in Hollywood without anyone really noticing. The amount of movies that were crafted and the use of Hollywood by Secret Service agents is astronomical.
Yeah.
Really, there was a 4-year attempt by J. Edgar Hoover, who of course is a 33rd degree Mason, to get Disney to help tweak the brains of little children. And they found that he was quite influential in the minds of children. And for 4 years, this 33rd degree Mason Hoover attempted to get Disney into the ranks of the FBI